It's the 24th of October 2017. I'm Richard Taylor and I've come down to London to meet someone who's been described as the second in charge of the NHS. That's Matthew Swindells, one of the directors of NHS England. He's essentially the chief operating officer. And he's invited me down to talk about my experiences in Cambridge and trying to observe and comment on what's going on in our local health service. So I've been trying to report on meetings, governing body meetings and similar public meetings using modern technology, using my camera, using my recording device and taking photographs and live tweeting. And I've come across a lot of challenges doing so. In fact, I've not been able to largely. I've gone into Addenbrooke's to try and film the Council of Governors, and the chief executive there hasn't let me be on the premises with a battery in my camera. I've got permission to film elements of the Cambridge and Peterborough Foundation Trust and Mental Health Trust meeting, but only responses to questions that I ask myself. I have had some success locally. At the clinical commissioning group, I've got them to remove a rather crazy element of their constitution which banned reporting using anything that was electrical or mechanical. And now they've removed that, but they haven't replaced it with anything positively encouraging reporting. And also I'm here to talk about freedom of information, particularly in respect of the Sustainability and Transformation Partnerships. Now, our local Sustainability and Transformation Partnership in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough doesn't proactively publish any details of its board meetings, of its health and care executive meetings, and I've made a freedom of information request for those papers, the minutes of those meetings, and it's been refused, saying that releasing them would prejudice the conduct of public affairs. So I'm coming down, taking the opportunity. I've been invited to come down and speak to one of the people right at the top of the NHS in London here today, to tell them about the challenges that I've been facing, and hopefully what I'd like to get out of today is to set things on a path to a new law giving us the same access to record NHS meetings locally as we've already got for local council meetings. And I think it's so important to be able to film, record NHS meetings so that we can have an informed debate, and so people can take what they learn at such meetings, can pass them on to the traditional media and on to elected representatives, and hopefully I can push things a little step forward. I think it's an important, obviously there are lots of problems in the NHS at the moment. We've got unfilled positions, which is a problem which might get worse depending on how Brexit is handled. We've got our hospitals that are full, so we can't have the proper flow through hospitals, and that has a knock-on impact on things like ambulance response times, which particularly concern me in Cambridge. But I think if we can get the transparency issue sorted out, and we can get public meetings operating genuinely in public, then I think we can tackle lots of these issues at a local level. So I was really happy to receive the invitation from Matthew Swindells, and I've come down today and I'm going to have the chance to speak to him. So the NHS offices are in a place called Skipton House, which is just off the main Elephant and Castle roundabout there behind me, and I've come down just a few minutes early, and I'm going to be going in to speak to Mr. Swindells shortly. Mr. Swindells is someone who had an economics degree, and he went into the NHS first in purchasing in the north of England, and he then moved to London as a director of IT, because people thought, or the people hiring him thought, that a director of IT should be an expert at buying computers. And then he moved around at sort of director level in hospitals. He became a chief executive of a hospital, and more recently he's a Labour activist. He's a Labour person, and he was a special advisor to Health Secretary Patricia Hewitt, and he's also spent time working for a private healthcare company in America, and he's come back to take this job running a good chunk of the NHS in England as one of the directors of NHS England. So it's really exciting that he's actually bothered to arrange a meeting with me. That's positive in itself. If he wants to speak to sort of a transparency and freedom of information campaigner and to set aside half an hour in his day to see me, then that must be a good sign, and hopefully he'll have something positive to tell me today, or at least he will sort of receive my lobbying in a positive way. Anyway, I'll let you know how it goes when I come out. So I'm not asked to do an interview on camera, so I'm not going to be recording in any way what goes on in the meeting, although I suppose if there's an opportunity I might ask to have a photograph to sort of illustrate my article about whatever we managed to discuss today. Looks like there's a bit of a queue going in, so I better go and join it, the queue for visitors. So that was really good that Matthew Swindells gave me half an hour or so, as I thought the very fact that he was inviting me in indicates that he's actually quite keen to see more transparency, and he, even when I was talking about FOI, pointed out that really what we want is not FOI improved, but more proactive publication of information, so people don't have to request it in the first place. So I was really quite impressed that he's very clued up and already on side, and he spoke about what he could do. Obviously he's not in a position to change the law himself, or indeed change things at say clinical commissioning groups or on hospital governing bodies, because they have a degree of local autonomy. But what he can do is point out what good practice is and influence, and hopefully he gave some suggestions that that's something that he will be doing on the two issues that I raised, on access to report at NHS meetings, that's report using modern technology, and also in terms of freedom of information, particularly with sustainability and transformation partnerships. So, all in all, I think it was really worth coming down to meet him. And of course, he's after the meeting, he said that, look, you can stay in touch with me if things come up that I think require his attention. And he's now somebody who I can contact and lobby. So I'm back on London Bridge after the meeting and just got my way back to Cambridge. Matthew Swindells was quite keen to see sustainability and transformation partnerships operate more transparently and perhaps be subject to FOI, or even better, to proactively publish more information, especially as they take on responsibility for doing more. And he was also keen to see meetings in public really be meetings in public where people can go along and film, tweet, and record what's happening at meetings, report using modern technology. And he said that something that he could do in his position is share what good practice looks like, and hopefully by doing that improve the decisions that are being made on a local level about access to what should be properly public meetings. So all in all, well worth coming down, well worth having the discussion.